right, viewers, this is Vishal from EQUITY.GURU, and welcome to another chart attack video. We're going to be talking about XRP, cryptocurrency that I've been watching for quite some time. If you are a fan of XRP, be sure to give this video a like. But of course, big news last week. A lot of people have been watching this currency talking about that SEC case, right? Ripple has been fighting the SEC for the past 3 years. Due to allegations that two of its executives conducted an illegal offering of $1.3 billion worth via sales of XRP, and the Ripple defense was that XRP cannot be considered a security and is more akin to a commodity. Last week we did get a New York judge delivering what people are calling a watershed ruling, determining that Ripple, the cryptocurrency, is not necessarily a security on its face, and again, claims this is again contested against the U.S. SEC. So big news which came out of that, and a lot of people are talking about what that means for XRP, what it means for the crypto environment here. But as you can see from the charts, it means quite a lot for XRP, as we saw on that day of the ruling. A big pop, 72% daily candle gain there. And now, the big question is, where is XRP going? Is it too late to get in? And what's coming in the next few days? So when we look at the fundamentals itself, you're seeing a lot of headlines like this now. Ripple says U.S. banks will now want to be part of the XRP cryptocurrency after this partial victory. And I like how it says partial victory, because there's actually a lot of other analysts now saying that, hey, just hold your horses. This judging case is it's not over yet. More news might come out. So that's something that I guess you should keep an eye out on. And it's always about the banks here, because as some of you who follow XRP, it's always known as that banker's coin, which is very, I would say, it's divisive against some of the crypto investors. Some people love it, some people hate it, some people really hate it. But Tetragon, a UK-based investor that has backed Ripple, sold its stake, though, has now said that, they're thinking that there's going to be more banks now jumping into XRP or getting into Ripple after this case here. Because, again, Ripple also uses blockchain in its business to send messages between the banks, kind of like a blockchain-based alternative to the SWIFT network there. So, obviously now you're hearing a lot about that now after this SEC thing. The big banks are going to jump in. Again, XRP being that banker's coin, if the big institutions get in, prices are going to skyrocket. Well, let's look at the charts, because that kind of stuff, again, I can't really predict what the news is going to be, but we can trade price action, right? As traders, we can trade the psychology, the price action that we see on the charts. And in the past, we've been watching this major resistance zone, this 55-cent zone. XRP, rejected it multiple times going back to 2022. Even here in 2023, we tested it a few times. We could just not break above it. And obviously now we have with quite some momentum on that news. So we have a major breakout. How breakouts tend to play out is that price can pull back to that 55-cent zone before we continue higher, which is known as that retest phase, right? So we can say that as long as XRP remains above the 55-cent zone in the near term, in the medium term, and in the long term, there is chances of higher prices going forward. There is a major resistance zone here around the 90 cent, and we call it the $1 zone, because that's a big psychological zone. And I just zoomed out here on the weekly chart for XRP, just because these longer time frames are very important. But here you can even see how important that 55-cent zone was here, it being a major flip zone with it being support in the past and resistance. So we can't I just can't understate how major that breakout was, because that's very big for Ripple technically. But alternatively, you can see up here that 90 cent to $1 psychological zone it is resistance. And, I've mentioned this many times in the past. If you want to learn how to draw proper resistance and support levels, just switch to your line chart and literally just play, connect the dots. And remember, these areas of support and resistance, not necessarily one price level, it's a zone, right? So that's why I have these sort of big areas here in blue. But you can see clearly that that is the resistance zone where after that major daily pop, you did see sellers take profits or traders take profits around that major resistance zone, which is usual, right? That's generally where traders will take their profits. And the question now, as I said, going forward is what comes next. You can see after this momentous, this huge green candle, the following days haven't really been I would say from a trading perspective, after you see a large green candle like this, you'd expect to see that momentum to continue, right? You'd expect to see price action to continue higher, but you haven't really seen that. You've just seen this red candle and just price now just ranging here between 70 and 75 cents here. And again, as I said, I think a lot of people did take the profits here at the 90-95 cent zone level. But going forward, 55 remains that major support zone. Are we going to retest that? Again, I don't know, but this is how I would be playing Ripple if I'm a trader. I would be going down to that 1 hour or that 15-minute chart and literally just look for what's the previous lower high that you are working with. And again, higher lows and lower highs are very key to market structure. In an uptrend, there's higher lows and higher highs, and in a downtrend, there's lower highs and lower lows. And I'm just looking here at this lower high here. I'm just going to mark that here with a line. Around that 79, 80 cent 79 level right there. That's the lower high right here that I'm working with, because you can see that's the low that it's recently made. Interestingly, you can see here on Sunday, we did try to retest that zone, but still the sellers were jumping in around that zone. So as long as we remain below this area here, I would say that there is a chance of a bit more retracement. I can't generally say if we're going to go down to that 55-cent zone. Of course, if we do break below these lows here at 68 cents on the intraday charts here, then we're going to have a new lower high that we're going to work with perhaps. And we'll have to assess when that happens. But if we do break below these lows, it is very likely that we will come back down here to test or retest that 55-cent zone. But as of now, if I want to, trade this or get in now, I would be waiting for this breakout, a close above this 80-cent zone level on that 1 hour chart, because that's the lower high you're technically working with. Even on the 15-minute, let's even go like intraday if you want to do that, but you still have that same level. I wouldn't really, recommend 15-minute for swing trading. If you are a day trader, obviously that's a bit different here. You could have bought in on that breakout here as well, but I do, definitely recommend, if you are looking to hold XRP for a longer trade, look at the longer time frames, daily and the 4-hour charts and weekly charts, and then use like the 1 hour to sort of assess where you're going to jump in. So just in summary, major breakout above 55 cents, as we saw on the daily charts and that weekly charts. And typical breakout price action is now into play, which means we can pull back to retest 55 before we continue to move higher. You have a major resistance zone here at the 90 to 95 cent zone. Retracement or correction in this new uptrend is still in play. And if you were going to jump in, I would wait for intraday close above the 80-cent zone to jump in and ride the momentum higher, because it would take out this lower high here, which would indicate that that corrective phase on the intraday charts is over, and we're going to continue the uptrend momentum. Very quickly, let's just look at other currencies. Obviously the move in Ripple did hit a lot of the altcoins, or the smaller coins, I guess. You saw a move here also in XLM, Stellar, which of course a lot of people who follow XRP also tend to be investors or follow XRP. XLM, major breakout. You are seeing that retest occur pretty much right now. If we look at other cryptos, Ethereum also had a bit of a breakout as well. We did take out the previous or there's recent highs here that we printed on early July or in early July, sorry. And you can see that momentum hasn't really stood or just pulling back as well. And then Bitcoin as well. We've just been ranging here on Bitcoin since June, and we had a bit of a breakout, but we had a large red engulfing candle the day after, which is quite bearish. And it's not looking too good here for Bitcoin per se. But we just didn't have obviously that major 72% move back on fundamental news as we did with XRP. So the crypto momentum here isn't carrying on. I would be more inclined to say that we are going to see that pullback. But as I said, that intraday 1 hour chart for XRP traders is what you want to watch if you want to jump in a trade. And you just got to be patient sometimes, let these corrective phases play out. Of course, if we close below 55 cents, then that wouldn't be good. That would be a major fake out or a false breakout, and then we have to assess price from there. But have these levels marked on your charts. And again, that intraday 1 hour chart is your key here if you want to jump on the continuing momentum if we do indeed that here in the short term and the medium term. But that's it for me, folks. If you are bullish on XRP and other cryptocurrencies, let me know in the comments below where you think the price target is going to go. I should probably actually mention that price target as well. But you can see here, as you saw my charts, after you take out a $90 to $1 zone, there is the major resistance at 130, and then you have resistance here as well at that 160 zone as well. So those are the levels, obviously, I want to see take out first. I'm already seeing long-term investors, saying $6, $10, $5 for XRP, and they're basing it based on, banks that are going to adopt it. But I'm someone, that trades price action here, and there are these resistance levels that we need to watch. But as I said earlier, that breakout here is very, very key. And just on a long term, we've had lower highs and lower lows. Our ranging here, we have the range part of the market structure, and it does indeed look like that XRP has begun a new market structure cycle, not the downtrend, not the range, but perhaps an uptrend with higher lows and higher highs, just a mirror of what we're seeing here with lower highs and lower lows. So, major breakout, but again, there could be that corrective phase which we are in, and as I just discussed in this video, how I would play this corrective. But be sure to subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys all in the next chart attack.